With four teams on a bye, who are the tight ends that you should start to win this week's matchup? Well, luckily, SI's fantasy analyst Michael Fabiano is joining me now with that insight. Fabs, let's start with the playmakers that you like this week.
Yeah, I like TJ Hawkinson. Like, he's not putting up these huge numbers, Kaitlin, but he's been very steady, averaging right around 12 fantasy points per game. Hasn't scored fewer than 9 all season long. And the matchup this week is good against Minnesota. They've allowed 4 tight ends to score 11 plus fantasy points. And then keep in mind, Kenny Galladay is going to be out, which could mean more targets for Hawkinson. So get him into your lineup. I also like Noah Fant. Now, he's still dealing with that ankle injury, but he had 9 targets last week, 7 catches. And the matchup this week is very good against Atlanta. Their defense has allowed 8 touchdowns and the most fantasy points to tight ends, including 3 tight ends who have scored 21 plus fantasy points. So Fant could end up being a top 8 play at that position.
Also on the stardom list is Rob Gronkowski and Eric Ebron. But Fabs, who are the tight ends that would be better off just staying on your bench?
So I'm going to mention Hayden Hurst here, okay? And there's a caveat. He's probably going to be active in a lot of leagues. Why? He's been pretty good. I mean, he's given you 10 plus points in 3 straight weeks. But the matchup here is something to be concerned about, right? Denver's defense has allowed just 2 tight ends to score more than 10 fantasy points against them. No tight end has scored more than 13.6. Now, Hayden Hurst could see more targets because Calvin Ridley is out. I'm saying temper expectations for Hurst this week. And then Mike Gesicki, don't temper expectations because Gesicki has driven us mad all season long. He has scored more than 8 fantasy points just 3 times this year. He has 4 games with 6 or fewer points. And Tua Tagovailoa had 93 passing yards last week. That is a concern for me. Trust me, fantasy managers miss Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then the Cardinals have allowed only 1 tight end to score more than 9.3 fantasy points against them this season. And strangely enough, that was Jesse James. So Gesicki is a fade for me this week.
Well, fantasy managers should also steer clear of Jimmy Graham, who takes on the Tennessee Titans, and Trey Burton, who faces the Ravens. Fabs, great insight as always. Appreciate you. The insight doesn't stop here. For more of Sports Illustrated's award-winning weekly player rankings, make sure to get your membership to SI Fantasy Plus for just $14.99 a month.